Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream. A little bit different this week. One, much earlier than the usual time. Secondly, this isn't going to be a reading update, mainly because there's a couple different reasons. I wanted to do this update sort of on my current thoughts of this live streaming aspect of my channel, and sort of the changes with it going forward. So I'm going to just wait a second just to allow people to be notified if they want to watch. Again, it is an odd time for me to be live streaming. And I know there's not a huge amount of consistency with my live streaming anyway, but I do want this to be a little bit more structured than previous live streams. So I hope everyone, it's been a big week, not only for the manga community, obviously with the extremely sad news that of the passing of Kentaro Miura, the author and creator of Berserk, a series that I am not particularly a huge fan of. I admittedly haven't read a lot of it, and I would like to rectify that at some point, but although I don't think you have to be a huge fan of somebody to grieve their passing, and I do think it's a huge loss for the manga community, as is any loss of life for a manga creator, for a voice actor, like the people within the space. I think anyone who loses their life deserves to be remembered, whether or not they have the notoriety or the accolades to the same scale as Miura. But obviously, it came as a shock to a lot of people. I think most people. It's very, very, very oh. Good evening, Lasagna. Welcome to the live stream. I think it's something that's hopefully made people a little bit more aware of the current state of the manga industry in Japan, how prolific health issues are amongst manga creators, and the need for hiatuses, the need for people and artists to have their time to create, rather than forsaking their own physical and mental well-being for their stuff that they do. I think it's just, I mean, it's, as somebody who is a fan of Yoshihiro Togashi, it's a similar joke you hear a lot of, oh, they're on hiatus, they must be goofing off and having fun and being lazy. And it's a sentiment that I've always really hated. I've always been really upset about, and that extended to Miura. Although I wasn't actively following his work, I never begrudge a creator their time, their space. Takamiya, the creator of Fruits Basket, I don't think people realize that very often her hand will just straight up stop working, for years. And that's why her publishing schedule and her hiatuses go on for so long. Ayazawa, her hiatuses are due to health conditions. Kosuke, of whom was tweeting earlier this week or just yesterday about their own issues with their health, the fact that they've lost an eye due to their ongoing health worries. They have nerve issues, and people still begrudge mangaka their time and their health for the sake of the comics that they produce. And it's just, it's upsetting. It's very upsetting. So it's been a big week. It's been an emotional week for a lot of people this week within the community. It's been an emotional week for myself personally, as the day before, or 2 days before, Tuesday, my time, I was attending a funeral. So I myself lost someone personal to me. So that was, it's been a rough week for me generally, just kind of all around, which also impacted the fact that I didn't read anything this week. I had a lot of stuff going on at work. I've had a lot of stuff going on just generally. And so I think this week I took the time to reflect on the channel, and more specifically live streaming on the channel. So little bit of a different tone, I think, than my usual live streams, but hopefully you'll forgive me for that. Basically what I wanted to say is that this will be my last live stream for the foreseeable future. Namely because although I love seeing regular commenters and viewers on these streams, although I do really enjoy being able to talk to you guys in a sort of one-to-one back and forth, although I do really appreciate so many people popping in and wanting to listen to my opinions on the books that I read every week, I don't think live streaming for me on a regular basis, especially, is something that I'm particularly, I don't know if good at is the right word, but I don't particularly enjoy myself with this sort of thing in the same way that other aspects of the channel have been fairly easy and fun, and additionally just like good to do over the last several years. So on one hand, this channel, this month is the sixth anniversary of the Simply G YouTube channel. It's kind of incredible that it's been this long and that I've been doing videos over hobby things for such an extended period of time. And over the course of that, the channel's definitely changed. Not so much content-wise, but I mean, the name changed. A lot of my discussion changed. How I filmed didn't change. And how disgustingly long, I mean, the videos did change in that they got longer, which I don't think is inherently an improvement. But, I've started the podcast, which is fantastic, and I love doing. I've had a lot of really great opportunities to work with people in the community and in the industry, which has been really fun. I've really had a good time. And live streaming weekly was somewhat of an experiment for me in order to see if how the channel would change, maybe, and maybe encourage me to make more content, or just have a more regular schedule, right? To post things, or to at least have one video a week. And I think that although this has been a very successful trial run, which has lasted several months, it's also been somewhat of a proof to me that live streaming, I think, works for some people and doesn't work for other people. And I find live streaming a bit of an event, a bit of a having to prepare and get ready and look a certain way for videos, and know what I want to say, have the whole stack of stuff prepared. And you guys know that I very rarely, if ever, script videos. Everything that I say is pretty much off the top of my head. And this isn't a reflection or a reaction to anything that's happened in the live streams either, especially considering last week's wasn't a super positive experience. It's nothing to do with that. This is something I've been ruminating on for a little while. And so I think live streaming for me suits this channel and for myself a bit more as a less regular thing, whether it be maybe once a month, whether it be kept for just, I don't know, events, milestones. My first ever live stream was for my 3,000 subscribers. And that was far too long, but a lot of fun. It was a Q&A. And I think, and I don't want to disappoint people with this either, but it just hasn't been as fun as I wanted it to be when I started doing these wrap-up videos. I think we've had a lot of fun. I think it's been really lovely to interact with people. I think people have enjoyed my thoughts and reactions to certain series. But I feel like my live stream videos, I feel boring, if that, I mean, that's maybe not the right word, but I feel like the content, the way that I speak about things is less interesting because I don't know what to say. There's a bit of awkwardness for me in the moment when I'm live streaming versus when I'm just behind a camera and I know that if I mess up, I can refilm something, or I can stop and edit it after the fact, or I can change, I can think about it, change the phrasing in my head and correct myself versus sitting here live and trying to come up with the words to express myself, to express the sentiment that I've been feeling about a book or a series as a whole, or whatever, comic, novel. It feels perhaps more genuine and maybe more reflective of who I am, but it feels less like what I wanted this channel to be and what I want my content to be. And I really appreciate that, Lasagna. I do think there's a space for my more typical or, quote unquote normal books that you mentioned on the channel. And even if that's just a quarterly update, a quarterly video that I talk about those things and film, I think that might just be a better option. Because one of the other things that I've noticed with these wrap-up videos is that I feel myself under pressure to read more. And if you're feeling under pressure over a hobby, that's not super wonderful, right? I don't have a lot of free time as it is, and I don't want to be stressing about what I do in my free time. And sometimes I just really don't want to have to think about getting ready for the live stream or getting ready as to what I want to say, or I need to read X amount of books before I get on camera, because if I don't have anything to read, then it'll just be a bit useless. And I also disliked not, having a live stream every week, but I would feel that it's, there's not much point if I haven't read anything. So there's a little bit of nuance there insofar as I want to get back to reading for my sake versus for the channel's sake. I want to get back to reading comics and reading novels especially without having to think about how I'm going to talk about this later. I also think there's a lot more potential for me to be working on other stuff, namely like properly filmed and edited series reviews and first impressions if I'm not live streaming. Not that I do a whole bunch of stuff at night, filming wise, or even editing wise, but typically, when I have a live stream, especially on the Saturday, I will read up until, I will, well, Saturday mornings I'm busy. I have a regular thing that I do with a couple other manga tubers, just privately. We have a lot of fun on Saturday mornings. And then that leaves me probably 5-6 hours, or even 7 hours, dependent on whether I've got other things to do. I've got chores to do. I've got, working full time. There's not a huge amount of time on downtime that you have to do laundry or to clean or to cook or to do any of those things. So outside of real life responsibilities and interests, it then doesn't leave a huge amount of time for reading. So I would read pretty much from whenever I after I got home, or after, I finished with my friends earlier. I'd read for 5 or 6 hours and try to get through as much as I could, which is why you've seen a lot of more manga than like novels or anything else these last couple weeks. So I would have a lot to talk about, or at least something to talk about, during the live stream. And then, obviously, in the evening, spend it here talking to you guys. And it wasn't inherently, like, that's not inherently a bad thing, but I feel like just because I wanted this live streaming to be at a time the most convenient for viewers, it meant that it was late night for me. Well, I mean, most people might not think 9 p.m. is that late night, and honestly, I don't find it that late night, but considering they sometimes go for 2 hours, and I talk nonstop, they're exhausting. I would really, really be tired at the end of them, and I'm sure that came across at points. And it would mean that I wasn't getting the amount of rest that I needed on the weekends either. The rest of the entirety of my Sunday would just be a wash, because I'd be up super late the night before, and I'd wake up honestly too early on a Sunday, so I didn't have enough sleep, and then I would feel tired and run down and just not want to do anything on a Sunday. And then on Monday, I'd go back to work, and start it all again. So one of the other things that I've really been struggling with these last couple weeks, especially, is that cycle. Because on top of that, as I mentioned, I had a funeral this week, and that's been a situation we've been dealing with for the best part of a month, 4 or 5 weeks. So there's been an emotional element, and an emotional exhaustion to my schedule as well. So it's just been some compiling of various issues that kind of came to a head this week, and I finally made the decision that I need a break. I need some sort of break. Whether or not, I, at the end of this month or in 3 months' time or whatever, I feel like, hey, actually, maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was just actually really tired and I've had a break now. Maybe I do want to come back to a regular posting with these live streams. I don't know. I also kind of highly doubt that. But I never say never, right? Like I will never completely dismiss an option for myself or this channel. One of the other aspects of this is that I mean, the part of the exhaustion is from my work. I work somewhat unusual hours. It's like, an 8-hour day, but I start I get up at 4 to be at the office at 6. And when you're awake at 4 every single day, when you get home at 3 or 4 p.m., you just want to go home and sleep. You don't really want to go home and read. Plus, there's other things I need to do, and again, having this self-imposed want to read, and don't get me wrong, I didn't force myself to read things that I didn't want to read or wasn't interested in reading. Like, that's not the issue here. It's more so that I read more than I probably would have if I was just reading for myself and not to talk about things on a live stream in the following days. So yes, for the foreseeable future, I feel live streams will come to an end. To replace them, hopefully, will be more proper, like my normal series reviews or first impressions videos. I also, hopefully, fingers crossed, my intention is to put timestamps in my pickup videos. Starting this month, I am going to be putting timestamps into my large, monthly videos, because I know that at 3 hours long, sometimes that's a lot to get through. Sometimes you do just want to hear about my thoughts on, I don't know, Yona Volume 27 and whatever else. And so I feel like with timestamps, it will help people just jump to what they're most interested in. Of course, you can just watch the whole thing. I know people do that. But I do think that it's probably a better option long term, if you are looking for particular opinions for books that I've read. And then additionally, I will do shorter, less what is the word? Less scheduled, or less I don't know where my brain is today. I will do videos like I mentioned, maybe quarterly, maybe once a month, once every 2 months, covering my normal quote-unquote reading, my novels that I read, prose novels, light novels, and then additionally I might do videos on library manga, more vlog type videos about various manga series that I read through my library, again on a semi-regular basis, without the live element. If it doesn't work, because we all know best laid plans very obviously, or very, very regularly, don't work out, then it might all just end up being easier to do these live streams. It might be easier for me to get to formulate and change and do something different. But I think I've never been one to stick to a decision that I made in the past that is not working for me currently. I'm never too proud to admit when I've made a mistake, or to adjust things to be better for you, better for me, and to try and improve the channel whilst also keeping it convenient, keeping it interesting for everyone involved. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's maybe I mean, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just sounds like I'm repeating myself over stuff that's a little less, like, I don't know, maybe I'm making a big deal out of it. But I did want to update everyone because I also don't want to just disappear. I don't want to just change things and then never say anything about it. Because, as I said, this month is the 6th anniversary of this channel, and it's something that I continue to be at, like, amazed, continues to be doing so well. That so many people continue to support me, to follow me on here, to follow me on social media, that that the podcast has grown so much as well over the last little while. Another project that I'm really proud of and happy with, and also both myself and my co-host Ray from Whimsical Pictures have kind of agreed that it's not ever meant to be anything bigger than what it is currently, insofar as scope and like brand and merchandising and things. We've never aimed to be a huge industry voice or anything with the podcast. It's just a fun, silly, you know, way for us to chat about the things we like and dislike. So, and I've had more fun doing that sort of stuff the last, God, almost 2 years. 2 years with that one versus the last 6-7 months with the live stream. And again, that's not inherently to say that I ever hated doing this. That's absolutely not the case, and I don't want to give the impression that that's ever been the case. But it's also hopefully something that you guys can understand is just not for me. It just hasn't worked out, and I would want to ensure that I'm always at my best with these videos. I'm always genuinely wanting to keep creating content for the channel, to keep discussion open on certain things, on to keep people wanting to talk to me about all of these wacky, crazy comics that we all read, and other things that we all read as well. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I've dropped enough everything in this live stream. Thank you, Lasagna. I do appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you in the live stream right now, even if you're not commenting. I do think that it's been a really great time. It has been a really great time hanging out with everyone. But it's just, for now, not something that I can see myself doing regularly, in the same way that I have been. And I hope that if you are disappointed, if you are upset, if you are, now wanting, something else, I do hope that some of the other stuff that I mentioned, whether that be edited reviews and stuff, more vlog type content, will kind of fill the hole of these live streams. Thank you for that, Abe Patel. That's really lovely. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that people did seem to enjoy themselves here, even when I wasn't always, talking about the most popular stuff, even if my opinion on stuff was different from people watching, even if I was going off on 5 million different tangents. I'm really glad that people stuck around and felt it interesting enough to want to keep coming back as well. Like, that's a big thing. And hopefully the rest of my content kind of provides that somewhat. I'm still the same person regardless. I'm still hopefully talking about books and stories and creators and characters in the same way, regardless of whether it's in a live stream or in my other videos. But I know that some people do prefer live stream content, whilst other people prefer edited content, and some people prefer vlog type content and whatever else. There's a lot of, some of my good friends prefer, in the manga sphere, prefer doing live stream content, and that's it. It's fantastic. I think that's a great way to run your channel and to create videos that you want to. But for me, especially for right now, for where I am in my life, for where the channel is, and for the way that I don't know, in the way that I want to present my thoughts and feelings on things, it is just good to be a bit self-reflective, right? And to know where you fit into the vast variation of content creation, and space on YouTube as well. Just like how your content can be truly your content versus something that you're continuing to, I don't know, push and make and do just for this the sake of everything else. Thank you so much for that, 365801. But yeah, I maybe expected this to be half hour. I maybe expected it to be an hour, to be honest. I didn't know how many people would show up and how how much other people would want to say. But yes, I thank everyone for their understanding and their kind words, and I hope that you continue to enjoy my content. If you don't, and you feel like unsubscribing, also, that's totally fine and normal, and I hope you find the stuff that you are interested in. Otherwise, as I said, I'll still be making regular content on this channel. I'm not planning on stopping anytime soon, definitely. I just will probably be focusing on other stuff, other types of content, which is pretty the normal content for this channel anyway. Like, I'm not completely switching up how I do anything. So if you are a fan of the haul videos, if you are a fan of the podcast, if you are a fan of my recommendation videos or whatever else, then it's more of the same. It really isn't that big of a change or a switch up or a big deal or anything. But I did want to say something about this and my mindset with changing and pausing live streaming, if not entirely stopping live streaming for the foreseeable future, rather than just make the decision and disappear and never tell anyone why or tweet about it, but then maybe half of the people who might come across or who watch my videos don't care or don't follow me on Twitter, and don't have much interest, or might miss stuff there. I will also be posting a Twitter thread about this right after this. So if for anyone who wasn't here and missed this, but as with all the live stream videos, this will stay on the channel. I'm not going to delete it or anything. That would be weird. But yeah, I think that's everything that I want to say. I hope everyone's looking after themselves. I hope everyone's kind to themselves this week. Podcast probably going to be the next video that comes out. I don't know. Who knows? Otherwise, I will see you in the next video, guys. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, night, morning, whatever it may be, wherever you are, and have a wonderful weekend. Be kind to each other, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, I am Simply G. I will catch you in the next video, guys. Bye till then.